So today we had another, well, no, I guess it was just kind of a rain. And it actually got cold this morning. I had to put a sweatshirt on. So temperatures are cooling off a bit. There's still an extreme heat warning for today because of the humidity, but the temperature is only going to get up into the 90s, so the temperatures aren't bad. But I suspect this is all going to settle down and we're going to get cooler temperatures. Again, I bring this up because for those who think you have to live with an air conditioner, I think I'm proving that you don't need to. So before I get into today's subject, I wanted to talk about stockpiling again. I've been talking about this quite a bit. The differences between preppers / stockpilers versus off-grid living / self-sustaining. And in my mind, and I just can't understand why a lot of people don't believe this, being self-sustaining is just better. Right now we are living pretty much, I would say 80% of our life, 90% of our life is self-sustaining. So we're living the life showing you that it can be done, that you don't need to go to the grocery stores, you don't need to go to the chicken food stores, you don't have to have a stockpile of food. Now there are a lot of people who will challenge me and try to explain to me why stockpiling is better than self-sustaining. Before I get into a comment that I got yesterday, I keep thinking about the Great Depression. There were two types of people. Those who could survive it and those who went to Hooverville. And Hooverville was like a tent city in New York City's park. The folks who were able to grow their own crops and eat their own food and figure out how to get their own water, they did really well. I know my great-grandparents lived in southern Missouri. He farmed through it, and my grandma, my great-grandparents' child, never really talked about the Depression with me. It seems to me that they did pretty well. Now she did talk about her dirt floors. My grandma always talked about the dirt floors. But you know, that's just the way it was back then. So self-sustaining got people through 10 years, I think it was, of depression. So what I would challenge people to do, if they believe that stockpiling is the way to go, here's the challenge. Buy yourself a week's worth of food. That's it. No more, no less, a week's worth of food. And you can buy whatever you want. Buy all the rice you want. Buy all the sugar you want. Anything you can eat within that week. Coffee, all of it. Stockpile it. Stockpile it to the ceilings. I don't know how much you can eat. And then for 1 week, 7 days, time yourself. Start out 7 o'clock in the morning. For 7 days, eat your stockpile. All of it. Like you would in an SHTF. And then on the 8th day, report back to me what you are eating. I know that seems like a stupid challenge, but that's what I don't understand, is why people keep telling me stockpiling is better. No matter what happens in an SHTF, you're going to run out. Whereas I do not believe, since I can prove that we do this daily, that we'll ever run out. I mean, things could happen. That's why I do have a short-term stockpile. I don't even call it stockpile, it's just what we have harvested and canned up. So we have 300 days worth of canned chicken and pork, some beef. That way, if something happens to the chickens, they die off, I can incubate some chickens. I've talked about this before. Incubate some chickens, and within 6 months, they're out producing eggs again. We can start to reestablish our stockpile. But again, it's all self-sustaining. I've showed you how we're going to feed our chickens and how we've been feeding our chickens. We're growing sunflower seeds next year. Right now we got a 50-pound bag. Carolyn can convert a 50-pound bag of sunflower seeds into about 250 pounds when she sprouts them. The folks who seem to think that self-sustaining lifestyle isn't going to work, they always come up with these extreme examples why it won't work. But they never seem to understand that it won't work for preppers either. So yesterday, somebody said, what if the government poisons your land? Because he believes that's what's going to happen, is the government is going to poison land so you can't raise crops anymore, causing mass starvation. So they're going to come out to my property and they're going to poison my land so I can't grow crops. Great. So I die. I get it. I really don't have a solution to this. You're right. If I can't grow sunflower seeds and feed the chickens, I guess I'm done. But so is everybody else, including the stockpilers. they are going to run out of food just like I'm going to run out of food. In 300 days, I will run out of food because I can't feed the chickens, so I have to eat my canned food. All the deer are going to die because they poison the land. All the little critters and different things I could hunt, they're all going to die because they poison the land. So we can't grow crops, nothing's going to grow. Doesn't make sense. How is stockpiling better? The other thing that always astonishes me is that they try to figure out the worst case scenario. So I'm going to throw one out. Let's assume for a minute an asteroid hits the planet, right? And wipes out the planet. I mean, completely destroys it. Everything's floating around in space. So I guess going on the philosophy of these folks that say stockpiling is better, the prepper is going to have their spacesuit on because they know it's going to happen. Oh, look, asteroid. They're going to get their spacesuit on with their stockpile of oxygen and food and water, and they're going to float around in space until little Martians pick them up. I mean, it's the same kind of thinking that let's just find and create the solution that Rob cannot overcome, and that's what we're going to do. But the thing about them coming out and poisoning my land, that is not an SHTF. That's what I'm talking about, SHTF. If there are evil people in the world destined to destroy the human race, then the only thing that can be done at that point is war, civil war. You have to stop the people who are trying to hurt you, which comes back down to the 4 things I talk about. It's number 4. I always talk about this. For an SHTF situation, you have to have food, water, shelter, and defense. So if somebody's poisoning my land, I have to defend my land. Whether that's through some guy coming out here and just, spraying weed killer on the property. I got to stop them. Or if the government is flying over with airplanes, dumping stuff over my property, then, we got to ramp up the war a little bit. The other thing I wanted to talk about is there is a group of people called the C40 cities. And what it is a list of mayors and cities. Lots of them. I mean, 140 of them or something? I mean, all over the world. They have this agenda to reduce harmful effects on the planet. And so they have this all written down. You can Google it. I mean, I didn't read their webpage. I actually got this from a video, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. So their plan is to reduce your ability to buy certain things. And so, for example, they have decided that you will, by 2030, will only be able to buy 3 garments per year, 3 outfits, 3 pieces of clothes or pairs of clothes. That's all you're going to be able to buy. They've decided that by 2030, no one will be driving a vehicle. Then they said that no one would be able to fly on an airplane more than once every 3 years. So if I guess I'm in the military, for example, I would think this is what they mean, because I'm sure Seattle, I used to live in Washington in the military. So I'm thinking, okay, I wanted to fly home. I wouldn't be able to fly from Washington to Missouri to visit my family. Now, does that mean that if you're in the military and you're getting transferred from base to base, because when you're in boot camp, you fly to boot camp, then you fly to your school, and then you fly to your command. There's a lot of flying in just 1 year. It seems to me they pretty much want to shut it all down. And then they talk about meat and dairy. By 2030, they want 0 meat, dairy being eaten in these cities. And so we're not talking about small populations. I mean, LA was in the list. I think St. Louis was in the list. So all these cities, these mayors are getting together. And now I've talked about this before, but I can say C40. I don't think I'm going to get penalized for the C40 cities. But there is another thing I can't say that includes 2030, the year. So, but that basically this thing that I can't talk about is right in line with what the C40 cities are doing. To me, that's relatively close. That's 8 years away. I'll be 58 years old. Well, let's see, I guess 59. I'm turning 51 this year. So I still got a lot of life left after that. So how will stockpiling get me through the next 10 to possibly 20 years? Because they're not going to let me eat meat. Now, you got to understand, I'm a carnivore. Now, I know what everybody's going to say. Well, you need to stop eating meat. If they're just going to take the meat away, you need to start eating carbohydrates again, grow your own crops. But I'm telling you, I've never been healthier in my life. Last year I developed a breathing problem. I'm pretty sure it started with allergies. I had a serious allergy attack, and it constricted my breathing. I think it was asthma, to be honest. Well, a few months ago, we started this carnivorous diet, we got off all carbohydrates. We eat ice cream once a week. So, you could count that. But 80% of our diet is all meat now. At least 80%, if not more. So, since then, my breathing's gotten better. My aches and pains have gotten better. What it's doing, and I don't know if you can Google this because it doesn't go with the C40, but there is a lot of information out there that shows that getting off carbohydrates and eating meat reduces inflammation. Well, my breathing was inflammation. Things in my lungs were getting inflamed. People have back pains. Now, there's serious injuries that meat consumption won't help with, but with those serious injuries, you also get inflammation. So Carolyn has a serious back injury. The back injury, she seems to cope with okay, but when it was getting inflamed, it would lay her up for a week or two. Well, now she gets a little back pain, she sits and rests for a bit, and then she's back up and working again. I've never seen it. It's incredible. So again, I would highly suggest that it's time for us to start really considering what we're going to do to avoid. See, that in my mind, that's something I can control. It's a lot different than saying that the government's going to come out and do this whatever. We know that governments are trying to get us off meat. They're pretty obvious about it now. They're not hiding the information anymore. So if they're going to take meat away and you want to eat meat, you got to grow your own. It seems like the only logical solution. So I hope you take these messages seriously, because it's getting pretty serious. So if you will you click that super thanks button down there? I'd really appreciate it. So if I can inspire you to get serious so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.